So let's start with the positive, and the biggest positive to me is Scotty Barnes, who obviously won Rookie of the Month for February, just went head-to-head with Evan Mobley. I would say Evan played really well, but I thought Scotty also played really well. It's hard to decide who was better just based on that one game alone, although Evan did have 20 and 17, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, Scotty over the stretch here, since the All-Star break, averaging 18.6 points on 59% shooting from the field, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. Let's go through the uptick in scoring first off, because we've seen this from Scotty before. He has this ability to give you, 20 points, maybe even semi-consistently. We saw it more at the start of the season, but then we saw also that his scoring curtailed as sort of more guys got healthy, and to be honest, he just looked more and more tired. So take us through the scoring uptick right now from Scotty Barnes since the All-Star break.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything, right? There are some of the usual Scotty Barnes stuff, like a lot of putbacks. There are a lot of transition opportunities. That's the stuff that should come easy not easy every night, but it should be there every night, right? Like there should be opportunities for Scotty to steal 5-6 points a game just with his hustle and his energy. But what we're seeing is a little bit more activity around the rim with the ball. The return of that kind of floater range game that he was really impressive with early in the season. You and I at the halfway mark, when we were kind of doing our, hey, what are we looking forward to in the second half? What are the key stats? One of the things we mentioned was Scotty Barnes' volume and effectiveness in close. So among forwards, 67th percentile in how often he gets to the rim, 95th percentile in that short mid-range area, so 3 to 14 feet out. That's per cleaning the glass. And in both of those, he's right around the 70th percentile in effectiveness. So I would say even without the effectiveness, if you had a rookie who was carrying the volume that he was carrying, which is, he's up at almost a league average usage rate, a rookie who comes in and is just doing that well, getting into high percentage areas, I would be really encouraged. And then the fact that among forwards, he's an above average finisher in both of those areas already is really encouraging. Obviously, his long-term upside depends a little bit more on how does the face-up game come? Can you knock down a three? That's stuff that, let's be honest, he was really impressive with early in the year because it was ahead of schedule. But it's not something I think any of us expected this year. And I think that it's, it shouldn't even be the focus right now, right? Like the focus should be, he's playing point guard, but a lot of the times he's also like the 4 or the center. So take care of the stuff closest to the basket first. I think he's doing a good job of that. I just don't think the offensive environment right now is super conducive to, hey, take a lot of pull-up mid-range stuff anyway.
Yeah.
There's just no space to operate within. But yeah, all that stuff within 10, 15 feet has been really, really encouraging with how often he gets there and how well he's finishing when he does get there.
How much of this do you think is also just a product of the fact that he had some time off and he just looks more rejuvenated and more refreshed? I mean, he's had 2 28-point games since the break. One of them was in like a very forgettable loss to Atlanta or Charlotte. Charlotte.
I think it was Charlotte. That's how forgettable it was.
Yeah, it was. I try to, just forget those 2 games where the Raptors lost by 60 points. But those are 2 career highs for him so far. He hasn't got to that 30-point mark yet, although that's really arbitrary. But yeah, I mean, I think to me, it's really impressive to see like the 3 or 4 times per game where he really takes it upon himself to drive, to attack, and to create something. Those are probably the most exhilarating parts of these Raptors games of late, right? Of course, the Raptors, there's not that much to be excited about. They're losing to some pretty bad teams. They're injured, and the games are frustrating. We've covered all that in the show, so I don't want to rehash it. But the play that sticks out to me is him driving against Evan Mobley and crossing him up a few times and then going up for the and one. He did it again later in the game as well to some other players. I think Lauri Markkanen as well. Like, I think that's the part when people watch Scotty, they're like, how can we get more of that? Like, can we get that like once every 2 minutes, not once every 2 quarters?
Yeah, and right now is the time, right? When you have all these guys out and we can tell it like it is. They're not a team that's going to make a deep playoff run unless a lot of stuff clicks into place and bounces their way. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like Scotty Barnes being ahead of schedule actually maybe nudged the goalposts for this year a little bit, where I think we all coming into the year were like, yeah, play in, maybe they get the 6th seed in the East, and then if it's a good playoff series, cool. And then Scotty Barnes was better than we expected. Fred and Pascal, when healthy, have been a little better than expected on average. And then suddenly it's like, well, that almost feels disappointing now, but it isn't really. And what I mean is not that they shouldn't have higher ambitions to quote our buddy Goran.
I love that that's made it into the Raptors lexicon.
Yeah. It's not that they shouldn't have higher ambition. It's just that when we evaluate this team and what this year was about and what their goals were, Scotty Barnes playing a role like this in meaningful games, that was a big part of it. That was a big component here. And you look, and yeah, since the All-Star break, things haven't been good at the team level. But Scotty Barnes, you laid out the stats. Not only that, he has been creating a lot of his own baskets too, which is when you talk about him taking Mobley like that, like it's one thing if you're finishing alley-oops and you're getting transition runouts, but when the percentage of your baskets that are assisted by a teammate are going down, sure, maybe that says something about your offensive environment where the Raptors just don't have a lot of assists, but it also means Scotty's doing well creating his own looks. And without the efficiency drop that you normally see as a rookie takes on more of that. So sure, he's been a little turnover prone. I thought the last game, the 6-0 assist to turnover ratio was really encouraging about where he's at. And that was a game where he was the de facto point guard. But yeah, I think any way you chop up his stats, his last 8 to 10 games have looked and felt a lot like his first 8 to 10, where it's like, okay, this is what a really good offensive version of Scotty Barnes looks like as a rookie, and it gives you the confidence that it's going to continue to grow, right? Like he hit that lull, whether it was fatigue, whether it was teams figuring him out, and he's kind of back now to creating his own looks and doing so fairly efficiently.
Yeah, and I mean more than fairly efficiently. 64% true shooting in this stretch, and
he gets to the line a lot for a rookie too.
He does get to the line a lot because I think he's able to play in the post. He's strong enough where he's able to get his position and just shoot straight up. And I think refs are actually, it almost feels like refs will be more willing to give Scotty a call on a post up rather than Pascal. I think Pascal's like twisting, turning, obviously he has the signature A call, whatever, and one and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. You just see it from Scotty where like he's strong enough to hold that position and he's able to shoot over the top. The thing is like over the stretch, 7 games, right, where he's scoring a lot, still only 20.3% usage. That's the thing. I wanted to see it come up. And I think this is something that I think maybe some fans are a little confused about. And I wanted to ask you about this because you'll hear things like from Nick, right, for example, after that Charlotte game where Scotty had 28 points. Or no, not Charlotte, the Brooklyn
game. He had 28 as well.
And then they asked Nick after the game, like, hey, how many plays did you call for Scotty? And he said, like, pretty much none. So can you explain that, though? Why would there be so few play calls for someone like that? And is that sort of just like the system that the Raptors play in general, where they just don't call a lot of plays?
Yeah, it's a couple things, and that's a big component of it. When you see things grind down to the half court and it's not a transition opportunity, then you'll see some plays run, especially out of timeouts or sideline inbounds and stuff. But the core strategy here, and it flows from their defense, is force a turnover or get a live rebound and run, and then everyone is supposed to be able to click into whatever position they happen to find themselves in when you run out in transition.
Okay.
And what that means is, it limits a little bit some of the plays you can run, and sometimes you have to eat up clock to kind of reset your offense and get it to where it wants. You can't do that kind of high Pascal Fred pistol every single time down the court if you're also trying to run in transition. So, and then I think part of it too is like Nick's overstating it a little bit. I think he's trying to encourage Scotty Barnes and encourage some of the other guys that like, hey, I don't need to call your name for you to get your stuff in. Like you can get our pal James Herbert of CBS Sports said you can get.
Oh no, he's been canceled by Raptors Twitter. But
yeah, I know, enemy of the state. But no, he texted me during that game and he was like, he's getting all-star numbers on Garbage Man diet or something. I think he used a curse word. Another reason he's canceled here. We don't swear.
Unbelievable.
No Raptors media swears. And the other thing is like, Scotty Barnes' offense right now is a lot of get in where you fit in, right? Like I've got his synergy profile here open, and his top 3 play types are transition opportunities, spot up jumpers, and cuts. It's not until you get down to the 4th most common play type, which is isolation and post up, basically tied, that it's really a play where you're intentionally getting the ball to Scotty to do something. Right. And then if you go after that, his next highest, the only other category he's high in is putbacks. So like 4 of
those are off his own shots.
Yeah, and you're talking about like 70% of his offense. They're coming from transition, spot up, cutting, and offensive rebounds. Yeah. And you want to like isolation, post up, pick and roll. Those are the growth areas where if he's going to be a star level scorer for you, or even like a number 2 scorer, those are the ones you got to develop and you got to get him some reps in. But I think as far as establishing a floor, that's kind of what Nick Nurse is trying to communicate, that Scotty, on a good night, you can get your 14, 15, 16 without us needing to take plays away from Fred, take plays away from Pascal. Gary Trent can still get his. And so I think that's a little bit of message control, and it's to the entire locker room, not just Scotty.